Imagine this. I'm out there in the dust and danger of a distant war zone, risking everything for the flag, only to get a message that hits harder than any enemy fire: my family's sacred ground back. Home has been snatched away by some power-hungry bureaucrat over a handful of unpaid fees. Yeah, that's the nightmare that exploded into my life while I was hunkered down in a remote outpost in Kandahar. The ping of that email cutting through the roar of incoming choppers like a knife through my heart, and I can feel the rage building in my chest, a burning fury mixed with the helpless ache of being so far away, thousands of miles from the woman I love and the legacy I'd sworn to protect. Every word in that message twisting like shrapnel in my gut, reminding me that threats don't just come from the battlefield. You see, Victoria Langford, the iron-fisted chair of the Oak Ridge Meadows Homeowners Association, had pulled off what she thought was a slick, under-the-radar seizure of my grandfather's plot, a sprawling 2.5 acres of prime Texas earth that wasn't just dirt and grass, but the soul of my heritage, complete with a weathered 1950s cabin where the floorboards creaked with stories of family gatherings, a sturdy gray shed-turned garage filled with tools that still bore my grandpa's fingerprints, and a serene little lake mirroring the vast blue overhead, its surface rippling with memories of lazy afternoons fishing with him. And oh, the irony stings with a touch of dark humor. She did it all for a measly $792 in supposed back dues, as if that paltry sum could erase generations of blood and sweat poured into that soil, the kind of legacy that roots deeper than any oak tree on the property. I'm Alex, a 35-year-old engine whisperer in the ranks, third in a line of warriors who defended this nation through wars and hardships. I'd inherited that slice of heaven from my grandpa, a place where the whisper of wind through ancient oaks carried echoes of my proposal to Sophia, my rock of a partner, a middle school educator with a spirit as unyielding as the land itself, her eyes always sparkling with that quiet strength that kept me going through the nights of uncertainty. And in those stolen video chats amid the chaos of deployment, she'd paint pictures of our future, fixing up the cabin with fresh paint and laughter, raising kids under that endless sky where stars felt close enough to touch, maybe turning the shed into a thriving auto shop where the low hum of engines would blend with the calls of wildlife from the ranches just beyond the neighborhood's polished fences, those dreams feeling like lifelines in the midst of mortar fire. But every dream has its villain, and Oak Ridge Meadows had Victoria, 53, who'd clawed her way to the top of the association board for 7 long years, wielding rules like a scepter in her gleaming black Mercedes SUV, perched in the grandest home on the block with its manicured lawns screaming entitlement, wedded to town alderman Edward Langford, collecting influence like trophies on a shelf, her realty hustle feeding a hunger for dominance that targeted anyone who couldn't fight back, especially those in uniform far from home, her smile always too sharp, her eyes calculating every weakness like a predator sizing up prey. It started subtle. 3 months into my tour, with nitpicky citations that dripped with malice, accusing the shed of an unauthorized shade of gray untouched since the 50s, wildflowers too tall for her tastes, native blooms my grandpa had sown for the birds, their colors a rebellion against her sterile vision, and the cabin's vintage charm labeled as outdated eyesores that offended her sense of order. And Sophia, juggling her classroom duties and the ache of separation that gnawed at her like constant hunger, scraped together overtime pay to cover escalating $180 daily penalties, all while I navigated minefields overseas, her voice cracking over the line with a fear I'd never heard, not even in the thick of battle, a tremor that pierced my armor and made the distance feel infinite. She reached out to fellow service families, uncovering a twisted pattern that chilled my blood when she told me, Victoria preying on the deployed like a hawk on rabbits, her tactics systematic and cruel, leaving families shattered in her wake. And soon strangers prowled our driveway, tapes and cameras in hand, dissecting our haven with clinical coldness, the crunch of their steps echoing like omens in Sophia's nightmares, and mine too, even from afar, the violation feeling personal, like they were trampling on my very soul. Then came the hammer blow, a claim of $792 in phantom levies for neighborhood upgrades never documented, And when Sophia couldn't conjure proof that never arrived, Victoria rammed through a foreclosure swifter than a desert storm, pixelated tears streaming on my screen as she described intruders rifling through our memories, our plans, our everything, while I clenched fists in helpless fury, the screen blurring with my own unshed tears. But here's where the fire ignites in me, a slow-burning resolve that turned despair into determination. Victoria figured absence equaled defeat, service equaled surrender. Oh, how wrong she was, because I carry a lineage of fighters, and some battles rage beyond borders, this one igniting a warrior's spirit that no distance could dim. She ramped up the assault, twisting laws to declare my duty an abandonment, ignoring the shields of the Service Members' Civil Relief Act that demanded court oversight for any such move, a blatant sidestep that screamed illegality, her arrogance blinding her to the consequences. And Sophia, palms slick with dread, dialed the base's legal eagles, who leaped into action with an urgent halt to the sale, probing violations that promised to unravel Victoria's cozy realm. And I felt a spark of hope amid the sand, a glimmer that maybe justice could bridge the miles. Meanwhile, Sophia turned sleuth in the glow of midnight screens, coffee going stale as she unearthed dynamite, her fingers flying over keys with a determination that made me proud. Victoria snapping up seized homes via her front company, Langford Investments LLC, flipping them for fortunes, turning the association into her private gold mine. A scheme so brazen it bordered on comedy if it wasn't so heartbreaking. And rallying other spouses, they exposed a web of woe. For other troops losing everything while away, Victoria sneering at nomads, in taped sessions that captured her disdain, the association unregistered with the state for years, a fatal flaw that fueled my resolve like jet fuel. This sparked my remote retaliation, syncing with my CO, Colonel Laura Thompson, who blasted calls to the Texas AG with the authority of someone who'd seen real battles, while advocates bombarded courts like precision strikes. And I tell you, the tension coils in me even now, a knot of anxiety and excitement, because HOAs thrive in shadows, betting on silence. But tip for anyone listening, flag your uniform status pre-deployment. It activates safeguards that could have spiked her guns from the jump, yet her hubris invited the storm that I was ready to unleash. The kind of storm that builds slowly but hits with thunderous force. Victoria countered viciously, slamming complaints of blight and hazards, her stilettos echoing through municipal halls as she dragged Edward into pushing seizure via eminent domain, her voice dripping with false concern. But aid emerged from Robert Ellis, a grizzled ex-Army colonel down the street, armed with dossiers thick as war logs on her overreaches, his gruff wisdom a balm in the chaos. And I breathed easier knowing allies were gathering, their support like reinforcements arriving just in time. The gut punch came when we learned Edward drowned in $280,000 of Vegas vices. The grab's not just ego, but lifeline, desperation masking her Chanel scent with a sour edge. And in those flickering calls, Sophia saw me morph into a tactician. I vowed she'd rue tangling with me, my grease-marked hands now wielding statutes like tools, the neighborhood stirring, whispers in stores turning to questions, the air thick with uprising, blending with grill smoke and rural echoes that reminded me of home's true heart. Sophia sensing the tide turn, my lone stand blooming into communal defiance against the facade of flawless yards and ironclad codes, a rebellion that felt as righteous as any fight I'd known. Victoria sensed the pushback when federal suits quizzed locals on association ops, her retort a frenzy, greasing Inspector Sam Novak to doom the shed as unsafe, bulldozers poised like predators ready to devour my grandfather's handiwork. But Sophia rallied Robert, who rolled up with bruise and a bombshell binder, his intel delving deeper than dues, into the Langford's ledger, Edward's tabs not just cards, but siphoned city cash to cronies via bogus fixes. A scandal spanning borders that made my blood boil with a mix of outrage and grim satisfaction, knowing their house of cards was teetering. This fueled Robert's call to old brass, swelling my legal arsenal with proof of oversteps. where associations invent edicts beyond charters, a self-sabotage that almost made me laugh at the absurdity. And pro tip, chronicle every gripe, demand the exact clause. It's turned tides in countless clashes, and I committed it to memory for the fight ahead, sharpening my strategy like a blade. Victoria's paranoia peaked with hired muscle shadowing Sophia. Radios buzzing like threats outside her school, her drives haunted by their looming presence that turned everyday errands into ordeals, but it boomeranged when folks queried armed watchers near kids. Tipping reporter Sarah Jenkins to probe association predation on troops, her expose exploding online, #DefendAlex surging like a digital wildfire, vets pledging allegiance with messages that bolstered my spirit, tales flooding in, the dust of docs tasting like triumph in my mouth. Even from the front, each share a small victory in the growing war. From afar, I pored over deeds. Unearthing a spark, the track's underground treasures never seeded in the '80s sale. A call to Grandpa's attorney, keen-eyed Mr. Harlan, 79 but sharp as tacks. Dust off those ancient scrolls. I urged, voice laced with edge, feeling the shift in power, the thrill of discovery cutting through the exhaustion of patrols. The hood mobilized via Sophia's Oak Ridge Veterans Coalition. 20 kin of service folks scarred by schemes, her printer humming like a heartbeat through sleepless nights, stacking sins, forgeries, breaches, while Victoria flung suits on bogus toxins. Feds circling like vultures sensing weakness. Edward's woes public, her counsel ghosting calls with increasing frequency. My whisper to Sophia, she's battling a ghost, but I'm returning with the Army's might. Prep those files, my heart pounding with anticipation, the endgame drawing near. Her lunacy escalated, shoving a midnight edict through Edward's pull, stripping troop homes of shields. Past in shadows with scant quorum, fluorescence mocking the void of legitimacy, but Sophia spied the fraud, Victoria faking my scrawl on waivers, a clumsy mess against my crisp sign-offs. Escalating to postal crimes, feds diving into Langford Investments, a multi-state mire that had me grinning in the dark, the noose tightening with every revelation. From Robert's digs, Sophia grasped title cleanses, reclaiming with damages for deceit, stash originals off-site, fires and thefts too convenient in her twisted playbook. The alliance turned her home to HQ. Bruise and resolve fueling shares of scars, forging unbreakable bonds that I drew strength from across oceans. Their unity a shield against the isolation she tried to impose. Sarah's dig went national, tags trending coast to coast, groups amplifying with resources and voices. Victoria's fief under glare, her ironies poetic. One prey awakening legions versed in unity, and I felt the weight lifting, bit by bit, the momentum shifting like a tide turning the battle. Her endgame, phony eco-scares from hired green thumbs spotting vintage sprays, seizures looming like dark clouds. But probes deepened, Edward's energy huddles exposed in grainy photos, Mr. Harlan's call buzzing with glee, unveiling Grandpa's masterstroke, surface sold but depths retained, I lord of oil, gas. Aquifers under all 912 acres of Oak Ridge Meadows, a 87 clause for heirs, suspecting riches, kept hush from kid me chasing dreams over deeds, the secret unfolding like a long-buried treasure. Sophia quivered scanning the parchment in Mr. Harlan's den, aged ink and hide scents stirring awe and a surge of empowerment. In Texas, depths divorce from tops, often pricier than the land above. And recent scans hinted gas veins worth $60 million. Edward courting Midland Energy Corp for leases and secretive meetings. Foreclosures veiling grabs for underground gold, and I savored the revelation, the sweet twist of fate. The twist scorched, depths trumped surfaces, I vetoing digs, builds, even trims sans nod. Victoria's avarice unveiling my throne in a delicious reversal. Her thefts aiding my awakening. Sophia weeping laughs at their futile plots against my unseen empire, and I felt invincible. The power surging through me like adrenaline in combat. My grainy directive, log every slight, we're reclaiming all. My shift to overlord palpable even over pixels. The kitchen a bunker cluttered with strategy. Sophia, Robert, Mr. Harlan, Jags dissecting her. Realm peace by incriminating peace. Robert schooling on depth dominance. King making me with knowledge that felt like armor. Sophia's covert ops, snapped meats. Lux buys, a fresh Mercedes. Gems gleaming ill-gotten under lights. Edward's casino jaunts captured in timestamps. Robert summoning brass networks. Encrypted ties to legal hawks buzzing with activity. Mr. Harlan on squat laws. Blunders as bullets loaded for the final volley. Their pile? Fakes, breaches, relief act slaps, conflicts, frauds, depths deceit stacking higher than ever. Sarah linking National Guards. Story in Service Life Journal. Podcasts echoing our plight. Jag deeming precedent setter with implications far beyond our fight. I absorbed bond scams. Inflated vows for revenue ruses. Adding Fed felonies to the tally. Resolve brewing stronger than Joe in endless pots. Linda Ellis, Robert's bride. Hurting spouses with campaign flair and unwavering support. Halls and legions backing. Us, printer anthems of revolt filling the air with purpose. I drilled tactics and lulls between missions, mirroring ops with meticulous care. Intel, assets, strike hard, timing surgical. Hold fire till return from max punch, the plan coalescing like a well-oiled machine. Victoria aired on, forging more in panic, bribing anew with trembling hands, threats taped for posterity. Her terror eclipsing sense of luxury, Feds probing mismatches that unraveled threads. Roberts shed a spy layer, maps, charts, links to experts forming a web of our own, eyeing flaws from afar. Prepping law's assault over arms. The climax building with unbearable intensity. Victoria twigged Feds on tails via bank alerts for Langford Investments ledgers. Her ploy a digital plague claim on records, but smoke betrayed her bonfire purge in the dead of night. Linda strolling pooch, quipping viruses skip flames to Sophia with a knowing wink, and I chuckled from afar at her unraveling. The mistakes compounding like interest on her debts. Sophia's post on my imminent return blazed like wildfire across screens, picking gear captioned reclaiming ours with defiant pride. Shares snowballing through kin nets. Victoria's poise fracturing under the swell of support, and I felt the momentum building, a wave cresting toward shore. Her rush to raise, overtime lures to cruise. Questioning haste on storm-proof relics that had stood sentinel for decades. Windows slamming shut with each delay, my pulse quickening at the thought of what was preserved. Sophia's ace. Taped chats per loan consent. Victoria's spilling bias. Backdates. Boasts of purges in unguarded moments. Gold for courts that would seal her fate. And I knew we had her, the evidence ironclad. Robert set my bash in commons. 250 RSVPs swift. Her isolation bid birthing a vet throng in her turf. Poetic justice unfolding in real time. The space transforming from her domain to our victory. Ground. Victoria engaged Dallas spin docs, dangling $600,000 hush with gag clauses thick as thieves. But my via jag. Keep your taint. We crave truth, your ouster from troop oversight. The sum hinting vast sins buried deep, her empire's cracks widening. I with intel pros on fraud trails, patterns, forges, chains as Rico bait. 3 ties equaling syndicate slams that could topple. More than just her. Sounds of pulses and tapes meshed with Doc Russell's and frantic organization. Justice aroma trumping late brews that sustained us. National spots like today show queuing chats. Morphing spat to emblem of resilience. Victoria's false reports on Sophia's stocks. But vet cops saw through the charade. Her trap walk unwitting into our carefully laid ambush. She learned depths. Via counsel's freakout, frantic bars on transfers, domain twists in desperate filings, motions manic under buzzing lights of courtrooms, her flight whispers growing amid the chaos. But I was steps ahead, anticipating every frantic move. My arrival prepped with affairs for Doku on guards, her veil birthing glare on her sins for all to see. Sophia, sipping wind-flavored Joe, scribes circling like allies in the fray. Victoria's vet smears, PTSD dangers, banned bids slinging mud, but advocacy countered stigma slaps with fierce campaigns. Edward's covert $3 million depths bid via tropic shells. Stained bids hasty and flawed, my riposte. Not for sale, but liberty might barter, the rejection a dagger. Sophia aired tapes at streamed council, threats booming through speakers, squirms evident on faces, justice honeyed on her tongue, and mine, the exposure cathartic. I linked MP fraud hunters as guests, odes versus foes home and abroad ringing true in their presence. I had whistleblower suits, 30% bounties on public swindles, millions funding aids for others in our shoes. 400 plus 4 bash, firms gifting feasts, vets convoying from afar, smoke and bows heralding the celebration. A tapestry of solidarity. Sophia's call tears victorious, streaming with relief. Victoria's wee hour rants taped. Feds raiding offices, debts splashed across headlines like spilled ink. My sign-off. Home to ours, Shielroo grounding on mine. The words a promise fulfilled. 600 amassed in Oak Ridge Hub, sense of grill and right mingling. Crews filming every moment, agents blending in teas with. Quiet vigilance. Flags. Bows turned sterile to fest vibrant and alive. Sophia heart pounding at gates, her eyes searching for me. I in finery, Colonel Thompson, jag flank, convoy rolling in triumph. Cheers seismic, salutes crisp, flags waving, wipes of joy abundant. Taste of wind airy and sweet, Sophia's joyful sobs a melody. Her realms fall distant but resounding. Victoria's raid with goons. Lawyer in tow, arrest cries on trespass, docks fluttering like defeated flags, shrieks piercing the air, heels frantic on floors, trap dawning in her wide eyes. I at Mike, Sophia near. Thanks booming with gratitude. Insights on her crimes await. The crowd hushed in anticipation. Barrage. Tapes fraud spilling raw and damning. 87D depths lording with historical weight. Energy meets pics exposing greed. Jag charges reading decades of potential incarceration. Victoria's unravel, unstable screams echoing. Foam flecking. Fear reeking like defeat. Voice shattering her. Composure, facade dust in the wind. My slice. My turf on kin land. Depths mine under all. Your $60 million frack theft foiled. Can't hawk mine. The truth landing like a bombshell. Gasps. Claps thunderous and sustained. Feds cuffing gleam in sunlight. MPs noting meticulously. Locals ousting guards with cheers. Cuffs, symphony clicking shut. Victoria led mascara streaked. Dignity in tatters. Sarah streaming viral. Nets jubilant with shares. My grace. Fraud funds repay all victims fully. Justice over vengeance pure and simple. Guard shield for those who serve. Final spin. Depths yields to troop aid fund nationwide. Personal to movement inspiring change. Victoria's 6 years fed for frauds. Relief breaches that violated trust. Edward 8 for graphs. Rackets entangling many. For $0.1 million repay ordered. Gavel bells ringing sweet. Sophia gripping my hand as ops precision served justice cold. Debt's casino woes unresolved. Her ride sold at auction. License yanked forever. Sophia and I revived cabin with care. Gray shed schooling youth mechanics amid dust and oil scents. Garden blooming vibrant where threats once parked ominously. Swing creaks with laughs light. Neighbor chats warm and genuine. Guardian legacy from yields aided 52. Kin reclaim first year. Coast Guard Cali home back from brink. Army Georgia fines spiked. Unjustly. Seal Virginia embezzled bust exposing more. Sophia spoke rights at venues nationwide. Inspiring stands against odds. Her voice a beacon. Oak Ridge Board vets / spouses now. Fines to tips. Helpful. Meets social with warmth. Funds parks. Memorials honoring service. I barred fracks decisively. Guarding wells pure. Values preserved for generations. Year on, legacy fest grilled feasts. Raised age generously. Stories shared heartfelt. Music healing scars deep. Case birth Rivera Protection Act. Mandating status checks rigorous. Penalties for troop targets severe. I testified before panels. Tale framing guards for eras to come. A legacy etched in law. Calls poured in constant. Mission expanding beyond horizons. On swing at dusk serene. Kids frolic joyful. Flag sways gentle. Nationwide now. I mused with contentment. Wisdom. Bullies mask fears deep. Power prays ruthless. Strength shields selfless. And as the sun dips slow, painting horizons in fire. And promise warm, Sophia and I sit there, hands entwined tight, knowing that from the ashes of betrayal rose not just our home restored, but a beacon bright for all who serve honorably. A testament enduring that justice, when fought for with heart fierce and cunning sharp, always finds its way back home, wrapping up this saga in a bow of hard-won peace profound. But tell me, was this revenge too far, or exactly the dose of karma needed to balance the scales of injustice? Where do you draw the line between fighting back and becoming the bully? Drop your thoughts below on justice, ethics, and if the system truly protects those who protect us.